Welcome to another episode of Good Sugar. I am Ralph Sutton. With me, as always, is Mr. Marcus Antebbe. Good Sugar, where we find the bad in the good in the bad. It is Good Sugar. I want to give you a couple updates, Marcus.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm the good, you're the bad, and I'm the ugly. So, lately, I want to tell you, I'm very proud of this. Anyone that's been listening to the show for the last couple weeks, first of all, listenership really has gone up lately, so congratulations to everyone for finding us. Thank you so much. But always give us a review on iTunes. That helps. Thank you. And subscribe, all that nonsense. But those of you who've been listening for a while, you know I've been running as much as I can. Every other day I run. I've run in the rain. I've run when it's cold. I've run when I don't feel good. I've not missed a run in, I think it's 25 weeks, Marcus. But I tend to stop around 5 or 6 miles. I've never done more than that. I just kind of don't. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself, number one, like fuck up a knee or and then not run for a while, you know? Or maybe I'm going to get whatever. I just didn't want to push myself. But this past week, my first run, it rained terribly, and I still was running, but I got, for the same second that I stepped in a puddle where my foot went submerged underneath the water, a giant truck went by the FDR and douched me with a flume of water to where it almost knocked me over. And I just felt vile because I had street water in my mouth that I stopped after 2 miles and came home.
How often do you get to use the word douche and flume at the same time?
A douche flume. And I went home. So then the next day, which was yesterday, I was like, you know what? I don't fucking care. I'm going to see how long I can run without dying. And Marcus, I went from 10th Street and the FDR around the base of Manhattan to 10th Street and the West Side Highway. It was 7 miles.
Wow.
The most I've ever run. So I'm very happy that I was able to do that.
You know what you should do is you should start a delivery service and drop off packages while you're running. I feel like you can make some money.
Douche flume delivery?
only one package. That's the whole thing. And it can't be further than 5 miles away.
So really quickly, I have been trying to do things like I used a program for that. It's called C to 5K.
Wait, can I just ask you one question? Are you going to tell our listeners that we have a great guest, or do they know that because they saw that in the name?
If you would have shut your mouth,
I'm sorry.
This is my lead-in for that. So
okay, sorry. You're an expert. You carry the show. I know. I'm sorry.
Pretend you didn't interrupt me. You ready?
Go ahead.
Let's start again. So I use this app called C to 5K. It's a program to get me to run from being on a couch to being able to run 5K, which is 3 miles. Then I moved to 10K, and I use this app that I followed along with. I don't really do that often. But we have the founder of the most successful app or program in history called P90X today, Tony Horton, who is a celebrity fitness icon, trained a bunch of famous people like Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, Billy Idol, written 3 books about health, and is considered one of the leading experts in health, is on the show today. You see,
and I know who he is. And I did some extra research on him. And I tell you the truth, I like the guy. I think his general philosophies are really good. Solid guy.
He does seem to be, while I would say this, it's hard to find someone that's going to be 100% in line with anyone else's thinking. But other than a few things, I feel that you and he will get along.
The thing is that the way I feel about this is I'm not selling that. I don't have products like most people to sell yet, because I haven't really figured out how to market and package what I see to be truth. It's not really a popular item. When you tell people the work that they have to do and you don't break it down into infomercial style blocks, it's very limiting who you're going to communicate to. My way of communicating is a way of communicating to people who are the trainers or who are people that deal with, people on a self-help journey. It's difficult journey. It's difficult for me to communicate to someone like you who would react better to an app or to a very made simple program.
Right.
So
dumb it down for the idiots.
I don't want to say dumb it down. I just feel like, it's the program that I wrote. It has to work if you follow the steps. If you when you read this program that I wrote, you would say, yeah, obviously that has to work. The question is are you going to do that? And I can't jump out of the book and grab you by the throat and make you do
You
that
should
thing.
try that. Do the same home delivery service you're telling me to do.
Yes, that'll be part of the app. If you don't do it, it'll let the phone just electrocute you.
Choose the gold level standard, like $3,000. I wonder what this is. You do it, you ring 2 seconds later, the doorbell rings it to you, and you
And I smacked the guy in the head.
Yeah. All right,
So,
well, look, enough of this. Let's get him on. Let's get Tony Horton on, and let's get into a down and out dirty discussion. All right, no need to keep talking about him. Let's bring him on right now. The fitness icon, self-proclaimed most influential man in health and fitness. It is Tony Horton. How are you, sir? Nice to meet you.
Gentlemen, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
That's the first thing I saw when I went on your website was the most influential man in health and fitness. Do you feel that you are?
Well, I mean, I sold somewhere close to 11 million copies of P90X, X2, X3. Got 3 books. I mean, there's a lot of us out there.
It's hard to argue that, I guess, at that point. It's a pretty much shut the fuck up response. Well, we sold 11 million. Like, okay, yeah, I guess you're right there. Good idea.
I mean, according to multiple sources, P90X, the thing that I created about 15 years ago, is the single most popular fitness program ever. And if you look at the laundry list of professional athletes, Olympic athletes, collegiate athletes, actors, politicians that have done it, and it's a lot. The Obama did it, his wife did it, Hugh Laurie did it. Half what's the hockey team? I can't remember the hockey team.
You're talking to the wrong guy.
There's a bunch of people.
A bunch of people.
Wayne Gretzky.
It's an interesting leap from Obama, his wife, to House. That's an interesting.
Yes. I told you it was a wide range. I wouldn't like it, man.
So P90X was how you started, which I thought was fascinating, was watching. I looked it up, and I think it was you. It's hard to tell. It was so many years ago. In the old Thigh Master commercial, was one of your first forays into the fitness world, correct?
Ralph has done his research. He went back in time.
I went back in time. I did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was just a gig. I mean, I was a trainer at that point. I was training my list of celebrities, and I went in on an audition, and I did this with the thing, and that was just a gig. It wasn't really,
I know, but it was funny to see that. But speaking, you've touched on it, which is you're known as a celebrity trainer. Whether I saw Billy Idol, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Nicks, formerly Tom Petty. How did that come about? Like, why you? Was it one celebrity keeps recommending the next? Like, how did you become the celebrity fitness trainer? Because I'm sure that's the job every trainer wants.
Well, I was training Tom Petty's old manager, a guy by the name of Harlan Goodman. He was trying to make movies over at 20th Century Fox. And so I got Harlan in pretty good shape. And so Harlan was walking down. He couldn't make a movie, so he went back to music. And he was walking down the hallways of East End Management. And Tom Petty was walking the other way, and he said, "Hey, Harlan, what happened? You look fantastic."
Was it Tom Petty or Jack Nicholson? I'm not sure what's happening there.
Yeah, here's Tom Petty. Tom's from Gainesville, man. I was with the guy for 30 years. I know what he sounds like. So anyway, he saw Harlan, and I helped Harlan lose about 45 pounds. So I had Tom for about 4 months before I went off on tour, and I got him super lean and fit and strong. And he would look amazing. He was wearing tank tops with no sleeves, like leather vests, and people were like, "What is Tom? He doesn't even look like the old Tom Petty." So then the phone just rang off the hook. It was Billy Idol after that, and then Stephen Stills. I couldn't do much for Stephen, but and then Bruce and others, and Annie Lennox, and actors like Ewan McGregor and Allison Janney and Bryce Dallas Howard, and I had pretty. I mean, there was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday where I started with Billy Idol, Tom Petty, Annie Lennox, Stephen Stills, Bruce Springsteen. Those were my 5, my Monday, Wednesday, Friday for about 8 or 9 months there.
Were you all in LA in that point? Is that
all in LA? Everybody was in LA. Annie Lennox lived right around the corner from Tom at that point. Bruce lives in Jersey, but he has a place here in LA, and so up I'm not going to tell you where, but they were all happy to be here. Of course, they're traveling all over the globe, and they have different homes in different parts of the world, but they happen to be, here, and so I.
And my last question on the celebrity tip, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about celebrity, but did you charge them all the same?
Yeah.
Okay, because that would be cool. Like, if you were a bigger fan of Billy Idol, so you charge them a little less than you charge Annie Lennox or whatever.
No, I would look at their bank accounts and go, okay, I'm going to charge Bruce X. No, it was all, and I didn't know. I mean, I was probably charging them $125 a pop at that point, which was, pretty.
Well, I mean, if it depends how many years ago, it could have been a good deal if it was 20 years
Yeah, I mean,
ago.
it was 90s in the late 80s to the early 90s.
Also, which is interesting is I know I think you're 62, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken, and you look 10 years younger than me, and you're 10 years older than me. So congratulations.
Well, I walk the walk, man. I mean, I work out 6 days a week. I eat healthy food. I take my supplements. I meditate. I get decent sleep. I got air purifiers in every room. You know what I mean? There's certain rules to it. You know what I mean? Like, I know what my purpose is. And so when people see me, yeah, I got to look a little bit younger than I am. And it's, for me at this point in my life, this practice is easy. You know, I mean, it was hard at first, transitions a bear, right? When I was kind of going from a guy who was, sleeping till 10:30, maybe working out once in a while just to go meet women, and eating double cheese chimichangas and Dr. Pepper. That was where I was probably in my 20s.
Now, I'm guessing in the
in my 30s. So, I mean, I've been doing this for 30 plus years. So.
I mean, that's part of what Marcus talks about also, is that you start with something small and you build it, and then it becomes part of your lifestyle. And the idea that there is no quick fix, the idea is it needs to become part of your lifestyle.
Exactly. I like thriving. Most people are surviving, right? So they get up, they go to work, they have a few beers on the weekends, they don't really work out at all. They got a lot of stress. They don't know how to deal with it, right? They don't meditate at all. They think that's ridiculous. Yoga, forget it. That's not for me. And they just say no to a lot of this stuff. And then, so they're in the survival mode. And they look like everybody else. They age like everybody else. And they die, based on their behavior as opposed to their, relying on their genetics to keep them alive for a certain
For a brief second, I thought you were implying that you weren't going to die. But okay, I get what you're saying.
109 feels like a good number for me.
So I want to get into the one heavy topic. So I read that after Tom Petty, who you said you lived with for a bunch of years, you're very close, after he passed, you feel that might have been the catalyst for this, which I found that it's really a extreme version of shingles called, which I've never heard before, Ramsay Hunt syndrome. Is that right?
Correct.
Am I saying it right?
Correct.
Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Well, it wasn't only Tom's, passing. It was also the Vegas shooting. And I was going through some contractual stuff with the company that I used to be with. It was, I was really disappointed with how I was treated at the end there. But they were going in one direction, and I was kind of amazed by that direction. And I was just, here I'm riding this wave for 20 years, and then it's coming crashing to shore. And like, wow, it'd be like Tom Petty. Hey, Tom Petty, you're third string now. I know you won some Super Bowls, but we're going to place you, behind two other guys. That's how it felt to me at that point.
Was that when Sean T came on board, or was that a different company?
Oh, Sean had been around, and Shalene and others been around, but
that's the same company, right?
All the same company.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. So contract negotiations, and that shooting in Vegas, I had friends that were there and witnessed just insanity. And then Tom dies the next day, and just sort of a combination of all those things. Just a high level of stress and shingles. If you ever had chicken pox, you've got the shingles virus in your body just waiting to come out based on all that level of stress. And I had a ton of it at that time. And, within a week, I was down for the count. And Ramsay Hunt syndrome is a result of having shingles in your ear. So there's all these nerves, these facial nerves. So I had Bell's palsy. I couldn't walk. I could barely talk. I couldn't eat. I was drinking out of a straw. I was sleeping all day, vomiting all night. I mean, it was just an ongoing several-month nightmare. It was a brutal time for sure.
And then, so do you feel that your recovery from it, because I assume that it's gone now, right? Or could come back. I don't know how that works, but.
Well, I mean, it could if I didn't deal with the stress, and I have yet to get a shingles vaccination, and I probably should, but I take antiviral medication every day. And I'm just a lot more chill than I used to be. I mean,
So do you think, though, so there's a question also for Marcus, because Marcus is a big advocate of food and as part of building immunity and living a clean, he's a vegan and for 1.5 million years. Marcus, I'm going to ask you, do you feel that that's a disease that partly is brought on by poor diet or could be prevented by poor diet, or what?
Well, I'm going to approach it as best as I can without sounding like I have the answer, because I'm not a PhD. But according to my two mentors, who I talk a lot about this, one is a little bit more esoteric and abstract, and the other one is an endocrinologist. We understand is that the body, the term autoimmune disease is very confusing for the layman, because what it puts in our minds is that the body will actually on its own naturally want to attack itself. And, it's just part of the notion that a lot of us have about what's going on with the biology, and it's not really accurate. So specifically with the case of this virus, and I'm sure everyone will agree here, is that this is definitely exacerbated and certainly made much worse by poor diet and lifestyle choices. Lifestyle and choices includes stress and getting enough rest, and whether or not you're exercising, and positivity versus negativity. That simplifies the problem, obviously, because there are other extraneous factors, obviously. I'm sure a portion of this is, a small portion of it, I'm sure, is genetic. But I'm sure in what your story is, since you've been able to get such great control over it, that it was brought on by stress and lifestyle choices.
Right, well, so that's what leads me to a question, because you say, Tony, the two things you can control in life are your exercise and your diet, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Couldn't the third be how you react to things, how you let stress management handle you is an important third aspect? Like, I remember my mother told me this when I was a kid, shit happens to everybody. How you allow that to affect you is the thing you can control. Do you feel that now that since this happened, maybe that's a third thing you can control, or you don't agree with that?
Well, I agree to it to a certain extent, because there's two kinds of shit that happens, right? There's the kind that happens over the, there's this general malaise that's happening in your life. You know what I mean? Stress from work, whatever, your car breaks down, things like that. But then, if you're in Vegas and some guy starts murdering dozens of people around you, that's a different level, right? That's a level of stress. It is unpredicted, instantaneous. Yeah. And for me, I had three things going on at once that I had never had before. So it just was sort of a culmination of all these things happening at once. I think if Tom had just passed in the Vegas shooting, I didn't know anybody there, and the things that were going on at work were great, I might not have had that same reaction. And by the way, I was vegan at the time. So I was eating super clean, a lot of salads, trying to get my macros and my micros all lined up just right. I was super lean at the time. I was fit. I was relatively happy. And then bang, 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 and I think that I just wasn't prepared for it. And that's why the stress got through the roof. Let me
ask you this now, was there a catalyst to make you not go vegan anymore? Because Mark has been able to sustain it and be a very healthy, strong guy for, 30 years? I don't know how long you've been vegan, Marcus, but it's been forever, right?
200 years. I started my vegan journey probably about 16 years ago. And now I would say I'm pure vegan probably about 8 years.
Okay. And so was there a catalyst for you, Tony, that made you decide that you did not want to be vegan anymore?
Well, here's the thing for me when it comes to being a vegan. And I have a lot of friends that are. Brendan Brazier, the creator of Vega, is a good friend of mine. He's been vegan forever. He touts that lifestyle. I don't have the discipline to figure it out meal after meal after meal so that I get the right amount of nutrition in my body to be able to do what I want to do. I hate to cook. I'm not a cook. My wife's a phenomenal cook. But, so I eat what my wife prepares for us. Mm-hmm. And then if I go out, which I haven't done much lately because of quarantine and stuff, but, when I go out, I had the right restaurants where I could eat what I wanted to eat. But, I was mildly malnourished at times being a vegan because oh, damn, we're out of this, we're out of that. I hate to cook. What am I going to eat? You know what I mean? I'll have some cauliflower chips. That's not being a good vegan. You know what I mean? Right. For me, I would go back to veganism if I had a vegan chef that was preparing all my meals. That way I know I'd be getting all the nutrients I need to be able to sustain that lifestyle.
But now my question for that is, are you seeing vegan in the ethical reasons or for health reasons at that point?
Purely for health, and now I'm mostly plant-based. I mean, that's, I eat a ton of vegan meals. I don't do dairy, wheat, soy, or corn, you know what I mean? Or gluten. Those are the 4 categories I'm out. And then I have to be careful with tomatoes. I have to be careful with other kinds of foods. So, and I've never felt better. I mean, honestly, since I had a ton of blood work done. I found all these markers for different types of foods. I work with an endocrinologist, nutritionist, and she said, you got to do a 3-month, take this out, take that out. And that was about a year and a half ago. And I'm back up to 175 pounds. I'm strong as can be, and I feel good. And I don't have, I had Epstein-Barr to go in with everything else. Epstein-Barr mixed in with, and now I still have something called bilateral vestibular hypofunction, which is an after effect of Ramsay Hunt syndrome, because those nerves in my brain for a lot of people, when they get Ramsay Hunt, those nerves never repair themselves, like skin and bone and organs. We know how long that stuff takes, but nerves, sometimes they repair themselves all the way. A lot of times they don't. So I have episodes of where I'm dizzy and I have a form of vertigo still, 2.5 years later.
That's crazy. I mean, wow, it must have really knocked the shit out of you. I mean, the only thing I know, my mother had shingles and she was miserable for like 2 months, but this is shingles times 10. Did you ever have shingles before this, or just this was how?
Never, no.
And I don't know anything about Epstein Bar other than there's a bar in my neighborhood called Epstein's, which I think is funny. But what does it do to you, Epstein Bar?
Just massive fatigue. You're just completely out of it. You know what I mean? You just want to crash.
Wow, that seems like a struggle. So do you feel that you being a fitness expert and having these other barriers means that you're putting in 10 times the effort?
I feel as if I have to. Yeah, I mean, I can't screw around. Like people say, what are your cheat meals? No, don't have cheat meals. You know what I mean? I'll have 2 tiny chocolate chip cookies at the end of the day. That's the extent of how extravagant I am when it comes to cheating.
Ralph, can I come out of my shell a little bit? Because I've been awfully quiet.
I mean, I'm surprised how quiet you've been.
Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate you. I do think that you're a very positive influence on thousands and thousands of people's lives. And
according to the P90X statistic, it's millions.
Well, you know what? Thousands and thousands also could be millions. It just depends on how many.
How many thousands exactly?
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like no matter what, we're actually really on the same team. And I would say that, one of the things that's really difficult when you reach such a high level that you've reached with your understanding of the body is it may oftentimes be very difficult to find someone that could run alongside you and bring new things. I'm not saying that that's the case in you. I should say one might find it difficult to find someone to bring them to a higher level. In having my company Juice Press, which grew to 85 retail stores, and we really served a very complex industry being based in New York City and the standard that New Yorkers want. One of the things that I found was I was constantly in a dialogue with the guest and the customer about diet, illness, biological problems. And so I found that the result that I found was this. If a person, I'm not saying that the lifestyle that I espouse to is easy. It's not. It's very simple. It's not easy. If a person were to truly adopt that lifestyle without being motivated by an illness, it speaks unbelievable volumes about the character of a person who would try all these things when they're not faced with an illness. It's just like a mindset that is difficult. Mm-hmm. I'd say a lot of people that I know from Juice Press wanted to get healthy, quote unquote. When you really looked at their motivation, they were just trying to look better in a bathing suit, which is nothing wrong with that, by the way, because that is a beginning. It gets your foot through the door.
For me, I can't look any better in a bathing suit.
I know. The idea is that I know that a person, the body's a miraculous healing machine, and it can only heal to the point at which the body's natural pathway to recovery is still open. There are certain illnesses where the body's natural pathway to recovery is closed down, such as the case with pancreatic cancer, for example. What you can do with someone who has that is perhaps ease their suffering and prolong their life, but there really isn't a cure for that because the body's too far gone. In the case of the viruses that we're talking about in your case, there's a lifestyle pattern change that I know from experience watching. If a person really gets into the extreme of it, not only do their symptoms go away, but they make improvements in their consciousness, which continually tend to feed the improvement in the body. And none of the stuff that I follow is hocus pocus. It's really just simple stuff.
Well, he's saying also that, did you find that meditation was a big part of it, Tony? That helped a lot also? Because that's one.
Well, early on when I was as sick as I was, that's all I had. I mean, I saw I went from, acupuncturist to an otorhinolaryngologist to, I covered it all. There you go. Say that 3 times fast.
Say it again.
Otorhinolaryngologist. Ear, nose, and
otorhino. You can almost use that word for anything. Like if you're talking to your accountant.
You got scrambled, man. I don't know how many points that is.
Am I right that that's a fancy way of saying ENT?
Kind of. Yeah, but it's sort of it's a very sophisticated ENT.
Right, but that's
next level ENT.
That's the Latin word, technically, of why we shortened it to ENT, because most people can't say that.
Can't say it. Yeah, well, I took some practice. But, the point being is, between all the tinctures and medications and seeing all these different doctors and doing these different things, I remember when I was in the middle of it, it just didn't seem to want to go away. I mean, but I wanted to get back to my lifestyle. I wanted to get back to exercise. I wanted to be able to drive again. I mean, I couldn't drive a car. I mean, I'd come up to an intersection, I'd turn my head, and it would take like 4 seconds for my brain to catch up with my eyes.
Jesus.
I mean, it was this kind of craziness. And every time I do that, I'd throw up. I mean, it was nuts, man. You know what I mean? So, but I did have a healthy lifestyle that prior to all that. So I knew how to get back at it. I knew that I needed to exercise again. I knew I needed to maybe sort of formulate some new micros that would kind of help me, because I couldn't eat, regular food. And it was, if I had known what I had and I'd got to the doctor right away, I could have taken those antivirals and missed out on all this.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, I just took too long. I thought I had a stroke, or I thought I had, a slipped disc in my neck. I went and saw a chiropractor, which I never knew, just to have him look at me. So, and then when I finally went to the ER, and I didn't even realize I had these sores in my ear, because they were deep inside my ear. I wasn't like, I'm looking at that. And he was in the freaking ER room Googling, trying to figure out what I had, because he didn't know what it was. He goes, "Oh, I think you got Ramsay Hunt syndrome." "Oh, well, thanks, doc." He's dealing with broken bones and other things typically. So, yeah, and by that point I was too far gone, and I really got creamed. But it's been a long haul on the way back. But meditation, to answer your question, was all I had. It's all I had, just to sit quietly and take some deep breaths and do various forms of meditation. And it mitigated it to a certain degree, just so I could semi-function again. It didn't heal me, but it didn't. If you feel improvement based on that, hell, man, I took it.
Keep doing it. So now also you have 3 books. The most recent one is The Big Picture. Are you planning a new book? Is that part of your, your regimen especially now during COVID, you're home so much. Are you looking to write another one? Is that something that excites you?
No.
That's a nice, simple answer.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's time consuming, and these days you don't make any money writing a book, man. I mean, maybe Brendan Bouchard is good at it, and Tony Robbins and some others can write some books. Michelle Obama can write a book and make some money, but they don't pay you what they used to, and it's really time consuming. And we have one in the works, but it's on the list of the 12 things I have going on, it's number 13.
Right, and you've been doing your Instagram live Tony Talk show. I guess that was spawned out of quarantine boredom.
Well, now that I'm not with Beachbody anymore, I got to build my own brand. So I hired 7 new people on my social media team, and we're doing a lot of ClickFunnels stuff and raising some money. And I can't rely on them to do a fitness program anymore, so I've got to do it on my own. So I'm basically doing this stuff from scratch. But I met with the team last night and via Zoom, and just making sure all our T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and how we're all going to move forward. And we're super excited about it. We've already raised a significant amount of money, and then we have other people that just want to help us pay for it, which is out of the blue. Just huge fans come out of the woodwork and say,
"I mean, I'm sure.
How much do you need?" It's like, whoa, man, hold on. I mean,
ask Bruce Springsteen to just fumble through his couch. I'm sure he's got
Look through his wallet, see if he can pay for the whole thing.
He's got enough for all of it. The thing I want to ask you about that, because you left Beachbody, I'm not sure what year where you guys parted ways, but they had a big subscription thing happen a few years back. Had you already left at that point? Was that part of the department?
No, that was going on. It was their coach network, which was going strong. That was so massive, and it still is, really. It's not quite as bad.
I mean, didn't they get into legal troubles for that? I think they read that a while. I mean, this isn't even part of my research with you, but I remember Beachbody having some sort of big legal issue about how they were doing subscriptions. I don't remember exactly
and I never got into any of that. I'm not even really. I mean, I had heard, but that wasn't really part of what I was supposed to do. My job was to develop programs and hire people and cast people and shoot the thing, and then do some voiceover work.
Was P90X your whole baby? That was your idea?
That was my thing the whole way.
That's crazy. I think
I was given. We did something prior to that called Power 90, and Power 90 was sort of P90X. Small. And then we were having discussions like, what should the next one be? This thing did really well. We sold like 4 million copies of that, which was a real anomaly. Like, holy crap, how did you manage to pull that off? Because most people in our industry they weren't saying, hey, you got to work out 5-6 days a week and eat right. No one was doing that. We were sort of the first ones. Like, let's give this a try. Let's give people the truth. Let's give something authentic. You know what I mean? Let's kick their butts here 5-6 days a week and tell them to get off the processed food. from there stemmed to P90X. So we all, like, what should P90X be? And initially I felt like, well, why don't we kind of help a lot of people in this country are obese and they're not healthy at all. Let's tone things down a little bit. And I have to give credit to Carl Deichler, the CEO. He goes, no, let's make it harder. And he says, I'm going to give you 1 year, do all the research. What does it have to be? So I was the one that said, it's got to have Pilates, it's got to have yoga, it's got to have resistance, it's got to have body weight, it's got to have, different types of hypertrophy exercises. Let's give them a myriad, a cornucopia of things so that they're working on their strengths and their weaknesses at the same time, which was the antithesis of how a lot of people were thinking, sort of a jack of all and a master of none. But that's what worked for me. That's what worked for Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen. I kept making them do things they were very uncomfortable doing. So there was a learning process there. Like, okay, you can lift weights, but let's do some yoga. What? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that mixture of different types of routines prevented boredom, injuries, and plateaus. And so most people stop exercising because of boredom, injuries, and the plateau effect, because they keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting, a better result, which is like, hello, no, man, you got to get outside your comfort zone. So, I mean, that's why people were losing 50, 60, 100, 200 pounds doing this thing.
Right. Well, let me ask you a little bit about that, because I know there is some theories on whether or not muscle confusion works, which is the kind of the, I'm sure you still believe in that theory as you're saying it now. I don't imagine your practices have changed much, or have they?
No, I mean, muscle confusion is a made-up term. We made it up to describe what it was we were doing. I mean, Jack LaLanne had a form of something called periodization training, which was similar, not exactly the same, but periodization training was kind of Jack's thing. Mm-hmm. And this was my way of rephrasing another version of that.
Did that term come from you guys, muscle confusion?
Yeah. Well, it came from Billy Idol, because Billy Idol, when I would go to his house in the morning and I go, all right, Billy, we're going to try something else. He goes, why do you make it so confusing for me? And then he used to call me Muscle Confucius.
That's hilarious. He should have got
Muscle Confucius, what do we have today? He would say to me in his kind of
That's hilarious.
Ralph, I just want to say, I'm quiet because I really like this guy. We have a lot in common. And
Marcus, I like that you like me, because I like you as a result of you liking me.
Thank you. I like this guy.
I grew up in the tri-state area, so I know the whole.
Well, I see you as a guy that's awake, and I like it, and I just want to backtrack for 1 second when we were talking about the uncomfortable concepts of autoimmune disease and lifestyle. What I learned in my I wasn't in a medical practice. I was just serving juice cleanses to tens of thousands of people. I watched so many people do long-term and short juice cleanses. And I would explain to them, I said, look, the juice isn't doing anything. This is just liquefied salad. Let's just be clear. You're getting your nutrients from it, but there's no miracle in this. What's happened here, why there's a benefit, is you're leaving out all your dietary mistakes. There are none. You're not overeating. You're not creating gas pressures. You're not eating late at night. You're not miscombining foods. You're not eating too much protein. When you leave out all that stuff, the body is absolutely amazing what happens. And so I've seen some people make incredible turnarounds from really messed up stuff. And I just feel like what I learned, a phrase I learned, coined for myself, was the limitation of where a person can heal is the limitation of what they're willing to do with their diet and their lifestyle. You'll heal up to that very point. So if you're going to do everything right, but let's say have a cup of coffee, you'll be great right up to that point, to that mistake.
Or in Tony's case, have 2 little chocolate chip cookies at night.
Mm.
Well, I mean, you can't.
By the way, they're gluten-free. It's organic chocolate. You know what I mean?
Ralph, you know what? The
made
first,
of hay. I mean, honestly,
it's a double-edged sword, because the power of what you think influences your chemistry. Absolutely. It's amazing. So, one could say that in someone's particular case, those 2 cookies make them so unbelievably happy that if they took those away, they wouldn't feel so great. So you have to look at that too. But ultimately, I feel as we get older, we're in the old age of youth in our ages right now. As we get older, for me, what I feel, what I'm working on is just learning how to surrender the things that have always been challenging to me, and say, let me at least honestly assess that and say, oh, I'm doing this thing, or this is where my character defect is, or this is the area I'm lazy in. And then I try to surrender it, because I don't want to plateau, and I don't want to get bored. And So that's how I do it. I don't give myself anywhere to hide.
Well, I will say this, because also I heard you say this, Tony, also about when you were coming up with P90X and something about how you can't make things work for all people because all people are wired differently and all people are, there's no one answer to a lot of solutions. But the one answer that does seem to be is that just work out more and eat right does work for everybody for the most part. But having
Come on,
said
man,
that,
we figured that shit out in 1932. That ain't even new anymore.
this is the part that always bothers me. I feel that in that wired differently thing, both of you guys are wired to be super healthy. You like to work out. You love to do it. Whereas someone like me, every day it's a struggle. And I've been struggling with it for years and years, where I almost get into good shape. I don't quite always get exactly where I want to be. I think I'm more the norm where you guys are not. Where I look at my trainer, when he gets angry or he's upset about something, he's like, I'm going to go to the gym. When I get angry, I'm like, fuck it, I'm getting a cookie or pasta. And that's just where his brain is wired versus mine. I don't know how you do that rewiring. I've been trying for 50 years.
Well, there's two-part answer to that, man. So, and to what Marcus said, yeah, exercise and eating right, 1932. But then, in all the decades since, what are you going to eat and how are you going to exercise?
Yeah,
and what combination of those two things are you going to do that's going to work for you? So you obviously, Ralph, you haven't got there yet. And you're also missing three things, in my opinion: a purpose, a plan, and accountability, right? So that's why I wrote the big picture. If your purpose is like, for aesthetic purposes, like, oh, I want to look hot at a wedding or I want to look good in a bathing suit, I personally feel that's not sustainable, right? Especially if you get older and you're not single anymore, because that's what single people want to do. They all go to the gym so they can look good and get laid, right? Yep. So that's why I went to the gym, you know what I mean? And then later on, as I got older, and I took in some more information, I realized, oh, that's not my purpose anymore. It's about health and wellness. It's about quality of life. It's like getting out of bed. It's like having energy. It's like being able to pick up a box and not jerk up my back. You know what I mean?
Well, your consciousness expands. I mean, you're getting older.
Weird that Tony
you hope it does, but a lot of people don't. That's the reason why they get fit and lose weight and then they gain it again. It's because their purpose, my purpose is, I understand that exercise is above and beyond the physical. It's a mental and emotional experience, as much or more so than the physical.
It's a moving meditation.
Exactly right. I'm
especially. Let me ask you one question. I have to interrupt you. Why do you jerk off when you pick up a box? That's what I heard.
Sorry, I misspoke.
By the way, Ralph is a pro. He's never going to let one slip of the human language ever go.
The minute that came out, I was like, okay. I had looked at my watch like that.
I'm trying to understand your workout routine.
When's he going to give me crap for that one?
You had me interested in that kind of workout routine. That I can get into.
Well, hey, if that's your technique and that's going to help you succeed, then maybe you should add that in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, but so then, yeah, you're right in that right now I've been running a lot. That's been my new thing. I got into it and I'm able to run longer than I've ever run, and seeing that increased stamina, that increased ability has been more the motivation than anything. I'm not doing it for anyone but myself, so I think that's been my biggest problem has always been diet more than exercise. I work out pretty much every day except one day a week. I don't, but I just don't eat right. I constantly struggle with the food.
Well, probably because you haven't found healthy food that tastes good enough for you to eat all the time.
Also,
it comes down to taste and texture. Like when it's in my mouth, yes. Or it's like, but steamed vegetables, I'd rather eat shards of glass, honestly.
Right.
I don't eat steamed vegetables. That's why I make these fun little shakes filled with everything I need, and it tastes good, and I do that once or twice a day. You know what I mean? We found Snap Foods. I'm not here to promote anybody, but Snap Foods is, I think, the best home delivery tasting food I have ever tried. We've tried them all, and after about a week and a half, it's like, I am done eating this stuff. It's just a matter of finding the places that will deliver, the restaurants that have the kind of meals that are really healthy that you'll go to and eat, and put in the places that'll deliver food that are have the right amount of macros that work.
I've been trying for years, but I still every now and then I do a backslide, and it drives me crazy. But it happens. I don't know what it is, but it happens.
I think from knowing you, I know Ralph and I know each other since we were 0 years old. Our parents were friends. So I would say that a common thing here, the common theme is about the addiction of food, and addictions have a common link in childhood issues and anxiety. And I think that, I think a temporary boost, a temporary solution is to put the cart before the ox. Like, go out and get thin and run. And then hopefully you land in a place where you can say, okay, I want to keep this I'm going to do this work. It's very rare for most people. The idea, Ralph, is that if you want to really remove those things, like anything, you've got to get to the root of the problem. You can't just keep glossing on the symptom.
I know he's having me journal, Tony. I write down little stories every day that come to my mind.
He uses the word journal because he likes to make fun. It's not, you're doing what Socrates and fucking Plato did, and every genius throughout history has done. You're writing shit down. And the first
I have a unicorn diary, and I put little thoughts in it, and I put stickers.
The first step for you, Ralph.
Whatever floats your boat, man. Go buy John Rady's book, Spark. I don't know much if you're much of a reader, but John Rady, Harvard professor, talks about the effects of physical activity on the brain, cognition, memory, sex drive, point of view. It's. I mean, when you release norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, brain-derived neurotropic factor every time you exercise, there are these molecules and proteins inside your temporal lobe that start to vibrate, come together, and change everything about how you see the world, your level of enthusiasm for life, your willingness to kind of stick to your plan.
I don't deny that working
magic.
I think I agree with all that. I just fucking love food too much. I do
too. I mean, I'm an Italian kid, right? I grew up eating like bowls of sugary cereal, and I put sugar on my cereal, and I get toast, and I would take the cinnamon out, and I put sugar on my toast. For lunch, I had Fritos, Devil Dogs, Ding Dongs, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I was a sugar addict, and I would eat bags of chips. I had double cheese chimichangas and
you're making me hungry.
Quarts of Dr. Pepper, but I was a miserable, sad, depressed piece of crap.
No, I agree.
And then I met a really beautiful girl who was a vegan, who was unbelievable and sexy and amazing and had tons of energy.
There it goes.
I want what you got. And that was the beginning for me. And then I went from keto to vegan to paleo to blah, blah, blah. Now I eat all of those things.
Does that mean you were dating a lot of different women? One was keto, one was...
Her name was Keto. She was weird.
You're a flexitarian now. What's what we call them in New York? Flexitarians.
I'm a flexitarian, man. I just look at my plate, and I hope my great-great-grandparents recognize what the hell I'm eating. It ain't Doritos and a Red Bull. You know what I mean? Like I don't need out of bags, bottles, cans, and boxes. You know what I mean? I don't. You know what I mean? I do a little bit. Like the shake that my shake came out of a bottle.
Did you ever eat sushi off a prostitute's stomach?
I have.
I haven't either.
I've done
Ralph says it's great.
More than once.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid. I've done it more than once. All right, now we're going to wrap up. First of all, thank you so much, Tony. Anything specific that you would like to plug as we wrap up Good Sugar?
Well, if you want to find out more about me, go to TonyHortonLife.com and check it out. You can hit all the different tabs, and it'll tell you where to go, the different events that I'm going to be doing. And you'll learn about my new Power Life supplement line, which is I'm pretty excited about. There's plant-based, high-impact plant-based proteins and whey proteins. We got an endurance formula.
Well, I've been looking for a plant-based protein that doesn't taste like crap. So maybe I'll try one of yours. I like having a shake after I run, but I want to remove the whey protein and try a plant-based protein. The stupid thing, by the way, they all come in huge containers. You buy it.
Our container's about that big. Not huge.
What I hate is when I buy one, I take one scoop and drink it. I'm like, oh, I don't want this anymore. And I have 4,000 pounds of a shitty protein. So that's good that they come small.
Yeah. Well, we have a vanilla and chocolate. You can go to mypowerlife.com and you can pick it up right there and check it out. There's a lot of people that are really enjoying it. And they're getting great results with it. I mean, the reason why is because we've combined the BCAAs, the right amount of vitamin D, chromium, and something called HMBs. And the HMBs are sort of the new creatine. You know what I mean? It's really helping people with recovery and coming back the next day. And the HMBs, it's funny. I'd be curious what Marcus thinks about HMBs if he knows much about that.
Do you, Marcus?
What does it stand for?
That's a good question. I haven't got that far into it.
Is it part of is it a enzyme? Is it a micronutrient? Is it a compound? Is it protein? Is it something broken down?
It's a form of protein.
So what's the source? What's the main source of it?
Because we have it both in the plant-based and the whey-based, so it's not one or the other.
In any case, it's protein. It's just you're finding some way of taking amino acids, and someone in the lab is breaking it down into something more technical, but it's protein.
And combining it with the branched chain amino acids as well.
It's funny, when I googled HMB, the first thing that came up is it's an acronym for Hold My Beer. I'm guessing that's not what this is.
Actually, that is what it is. That's right.
I think
a little handle.
I want to give you. I'm saying this in the proper way. My hat's off to you. I respect what you're doing a lot, and Ralph knows I'm a dick. I don't respect easily.
Thank you, Marcus.
I think you look great. I think your message is right. I want to give you an open invitation to come back to the show, and I would like to have more preparation. Possibly, maybe do like a different kind of approach, like a panel. I'd love to have. My food mentor is 90 years old. He's been 100% raw vegan for 55 years, and he's a genius when it comes to, all the technical things. He keeps really close knowledge of what's happening in pharmacy and medicine. And I have as another mentor I have as an endocrinologist, and I would love to dive deeper into technical stuff. It's boring for most people, but since we make the styles and the trends in the health and wellness space, it's important that we keep diving deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%, because a lot of people, they're just skimming the surface and they don't really know why they're doing what they're doing. And, a little bit of knowledge goes a long way. And I think that would certainly be, in your case, Ralph, figuring out what your purpose is, really, what is your plan? Or, writing in that
Unicorn Diary?
What's that?
Unicorn Diary?
I don't need that. I did though early on, and I did it for about 2 years when I first started. And I also did it with my fitness. I mean, I tracked every pound, every push-up, every pull-up I ever did. After a while, I just didn't need it anymore. But it's like, once you consume more knowledge, it's like, wow, that lifestyle seems idiotic.
I would say that your books are the ultimate reversal of a journal, where you took in your knowledge, you absorbed it, it got into the fibers of your body, and you wrote down your knowledge and you shared it with the world. That's really the next stage of the writing, is to have clarity. And so it's hard to do if you're stuck in the muck and the mire of your emotions, and I can't quite get the words. I started writing because I got sober when I was 15. I'm sober 35 years. And one of the steps in 12-step recovery is to write a moral inventory of yourself. So you get into writing in recovery. And I found that for me, that if I sit down and write out a problem, I materialize. It's almost like I'm articulating it to myself, and I can say, oh, that thing is real. That's happening. And it works epically for me to take a problem and then write out solution. And as you said, accountability. Now in Google Docs, I have my own writing. I'll write down the shit I'm working on. I go back to it and I can write my progress, or say, hey, you haven't touched it yet. I have a more concrete way of maintaining accountability as opposed to it all just being in my head.
I know we're trying to wrap up here, but when you've got these amorphous thoughts flying around in your head, you would ignore them a lot of time. But as soon as you put pen to paper, you're looking down and you're looking at reality, and reality is right there in front of you. I track, because of what I have, and this is part of my next program, is taking 3 points in the day to kind of track how my energy is, what my fatigue and pain is. So when I get up in the morning, I've noticed there's a pattern that I feel like shit almost every morning. Probably partly because I trained so damn hard. I'm just really sore. Maybe I need to do a mattress or pillow or something, or the air conditioning to be turned up. But I just know that my pattern is, man, I feel like crap every morning. What do I need to do to sort of mitigate that? And then midday, sometime between noon and 2, I also write it down. Like, geez, you know what I mean? And so you want to be able over the course of time, find a pattern where, oh, wow, I feel pretty damn good most of the day, morning, noon, and night. So I must be doing everything right, regardless of whether I'm a vegan or paleo or doing yoga or meditation or what, right? But, so when I write these things down, I begin to make adjustments, because I don't like feeling crappy in the morning. So I've made adjustments in the last week, and I got up and I told my wife this morning, I said, I think what I'm doing is working, because I got 8.5 ridiculous, perfect nights of sleep. And I got out of bed and I felt awesome, and I want more of that. So when you do write it down, you learn a lot about yourself, and then you start to make some changes.
Well, let me wrap on this positive note right now. I just went to is it My Power Life? Is that the right website? I literally I could show, I don't want to show my code, but I just bought one of the containers. I bought the vanilla, and we'll see what happens.
I love you, man.
That's how I'm.
We're doing stuff on this podcast. We're doing stuff.
I walk the walk. That's what I'm doing.
We're buying shit.
That's going to pay part of my water bill, and I appreciate it.
How do you feel about cocaine?
Back in the 80s, I felt really good about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, it is Tony Horton, My Power Life. Go to that website for the protein. I will be trying in about 4 days, I am assuming.
Correct. You should get it pretty quick.
Yeah, and thank you so much for taking the time out. You can follow me everywhere at I Am Ralph Sutton. My other podcast, The SDR Show. We have Ray Romano coming on next week, which I'm really excited about. And Mark, is anything you want to plug?
Not yet.
Okay, go to goodsugar.live. You can always email us 5000 at goodsugar.live. Thank you so much, Tony Horton, and we'll see you next week on Good Sugar.